Hey, Edward, we want to hear your story, my man. So,
Absolutely. Welcome, Edward.
yeah,
And tell us about your Android journey. I'm interested to hear it.
Thanks very much, guys, and thanks a lot for the opportunity to do it as well. It's a really good segment of the podcast, and I've enjoyed listening to other people's experiences. I got my first Android phone round about the end of 2012, start of 2013. I'd been on iOS a couple of years by that point, and it was the Nexus 4, so the phone that LG made for Google. And at the
that was a
time, I think it
that
was
was a
running Jelly
beautiful
Bean.
that was a beautiful phone. Sorry to
It's still here. It's
a
alive.
beautiful phone.
I'm, this is my Nexus 4. This isn't the best mic in the world, but I have just unlocked the Nexus 4. I dug it out of a drawer when I knew I
That
was
is
doing this to see if it
great.
still worked,
I love the sound of it,
and it
Edward.
does.
Memory land.
I forgot how tinny and trebly the speaker was, though, compared to some of the older ones. I mean, it is a little candy bar phone from 9 years ago, to be fair to it. I don't know what it was, though. At that time, I didn't immediately take to Android. It was back when menus were in circles, like round a clock face, rather than in a list. I couldn't quite get my head around the angular gestures, so my purchased on eBay Nexus 4 sort of went back into a drawer for a bit. And then a few years later, I was looking around for a phone to see where Android had come to, really. And I got a Sony Xperia XZ Compact, which again is a candy bar phone. But for the money, I thought it had quite good specs. So I think it had a 19 megapixel back camera, which at the time was quite good. It's Sony hardware, so pretty solid. Internal storage is a bit chintzy at 32 gig, but for $600 at the time, it was quite a nice phone, and also still works, although it's in a state of not really being set up at the minute because I gave it to my wife, who didn't do much with it. But so I used that a lot as a media player. I got an iPhone 10 around the same time, so I used it pretty much as a media player rather than a dedicated device. Because, as I say, for a little phone, it had quite good hardware, two decent ish. It's a phone, so how good's it ever going to be? But two decent ish speakers. But then, round about the start of last year, 2020, 5G started to be rolled out in London on a couple of networks. I mean, it's still a bit patchy, but we do get 5G. And I thought I'd quite like to have a 5G device. And I knew at that time that when Apple brought out a 5G device, I wouldn't want to pay what Apple wanted me to pay to have it, which pretty much necessitated a switch to Android. And so I had a look at my carrier, see what was available, and I got one of the Samsung produced so many phones, it's so confusing. One of the A series Samsung devices with 5G, the A90, which is a bigger phone. It's okay. It's not particularly flashy. It only has one speaker, which is a bit disappointing for media play anyway. And I was using that quite happily. It was a good phone. When it got 5G, it was pretty quick. Wasn't ever going to pull up any trees, but then again, I don't think it's meant to. But then I was walking into work, and I don't know if other cities do, but on some of our walks, they've started to put up those knee-high bollards to stop sort of vehicle-enabled terrorist attacks and trucks driving onto pavement. And I misjudged the bollard in the middle of the crosswalk and had my Samsung in my front jeans pocket, which is always a disastrous thing to do. So there was an ominous crunching sound which suggested the screen had not survived contact with the bollard. I'd look at the phone. I thought the screen protector might have taken the brunt of the damage. I peeled it off, and the screen was gone. So it took me a little while to get that repaired. I repaired it with a view to selling it. So then I started to have a look around about what other phone did I want. I didn't think I liked that particular Samsung model enough to buy a replacement for it out of my own pocket rather than on a deal. So I had a look and started to look at OnePlus, because that they've traditionally offered, I think, quite good value, quite good bang for your buck. Perhaps not as much as previously, but still, I settled on the OnePlus 8. Got it in the Amazon, what's it called? Prime Day? the thing where they discount everything for
Prime Day.
24, 48 hours. Yeah, Prime Day thing. So I think I paid about $550 for it. It's got 256 internal storage. It's got 12 gig of RAM. It upgraded to Android 11 pretty quickly. And I don't know if this will come over on the headset. I'll swipe because I think it gives you a better idea of responsiveness, but then I will run my finger up and down the screen. Hopefully you can tell. So it's pretty snappy. There's not much delay at all between the haptic and the talkback. Certainly better than the Samsung, which I think has about half the RAM. And so the Android phone now, starting with the Samsung but carrying on with the OnePlus, is my primary device. Like every time I pull out my iPhone, it's flat because it's gone flat on standby because I haven't used it. And I do most computing things that I need to do on the phone. So I'll shop on the phone. I will write emails on the phone, not with peripherals. I tend to use either the on-screen standard keyboards or the TalkBack Braille keyboard, and I'll do most of the net surfing that I want to do on the phone. And I think what struck me, I mean, obviously everyone knows how customizable Android it is. It's kind of old hat to say that, but what I've been quite surprised about is a lot of the third-party apps seem to be more stable on Android than they are on iOS. So, you can't move on Facebook for people complaining about what's happened in the latest iOS Facebook update. A little bit the same with YouTube. We have a takeout app here called Just Eat. And access, I don't know why, but accessibility just doesn't seem to break as often on this side. So having sort of made a few false starts into Android, I'm quite glad that I've now transitioned and, as I say, use the OnePlus 8 as my primary device.
Well, it's definitely has a lot better storage. It sounds like you got a lot better bang for your buck than 32 gig for 600. Now times have changed. How about it?
And you know what?
I really 4 years.
I really like the part that you are talking about, and this is why I kind of like these Android journey stories. You mentioned the Just Eat, I like that food part of it, So it's time to grab that grub,
Yeah.
I'll pull that baby out and get some grub.
Of lockdown is that. Yeah, one of the consequences of our lockdown, we're still in a lockdown, is that the quality of takeaway choice has got a lot better because all the mainstream restaurants have to come on it rather than just your hole in the wall counters.
But that's a beautiful Android story, Edward, most especially, all the different phones you went through and finally getting to the OnePlus. And, one thing you mentioned there that I also noticed, I have an older, I call them the Fruitvale, iPhone. I have an older, 7 Plus, also has 256 gigs. And I noticed that I'll put that thing down, it's off. But frankly, when I turn it back on, the battery is like almost gone or totally gone. And my Android, I have my Essential PH1 phone that I probably haven't turned on since maybe August or September. If I turn that thing on now, it probably has 50 to 60 battery life. It's just amazing, the difference. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, I noticed that with my Samsung. That's similar. If I turn that back on now, it still holds battery life even when it's off pretty well.
So that was your Android story, and it's beautiful. I like hearing it.
Yeah, but I have some questions. Like now, 5G is rolling out in UK, and India has not got 5G yet. What are the speeds like of 5G there?
They're pretty good. I mean, I haven't used something like the Ookla speed test app, but I'm fully on cellular now. So I got rid of our landline ADSL. I've got a I've got a 4G router for the internet, and the 5G on the phone is noticeably faster when it gets it. I mean, it's still patchy to the extent that even when you're in a 5G location, you don't reliably connect to 5G yet. But when you do, you certainly notice it. I mean, sort of 200, 300, 400 meg files are coming down, pretty swiftly. So certainly, as I say, you can feel the difference from 4G.
That was a very interesting Android story, and we definitely thank you for sharing it.
All right.
Thanks for having me on.